What's going on, Crimson Tide fans? Chris Daughtry back with you guys yet again for another edition of the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, talking about some injury news that Kalen DeBoer dropped yesterday during his press conference. Also, just some more thoughts surrounding this team. You know, we did our overreaction video, we did our instant reaction, and I'll be honest, the extra day, Labor Day, having that off, I'm still mad. And there's more things that I want to talk about this team. So we're going to just talk about some more stuff, talk about the press conference as well on today's video. Before we get into that, though, I want to hear from you guys. Do you still have faith in this team? Are they going to be able to right the ship, turn things around, fix these things to be able to make the 12-team college football playoffs this season? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Type Y for yes or N for no. All right, let's get into some of this injury news before we get into just talking about the team a little bit here. Kalen DeBoer talked about some of the injuries that went down during that game against Florida State. Jamarian Latham, he kind of got bent up a little bit. I think somebody was going to make a tackle and just kind of ran into the back of his knee, essentially, I believe, is kind of what happened to him. Kalen DeBoer calling it a lower body injury for him, saying that that's going to be day-to-day. Isaiah Horton also got banged up. He was kind of seen over on the bike during the game. He's going to be limited this week, but they did also say that he should be ready to go by the end of the week. And then Ryan Williams, he's also going to be day-to-day, just going through concussion protocol right now. So we'll see how long it really takes him to work through that. Jaden Roberts, we know before, going into that game, he had a concussion. He was actually cleared to go, fully cleared for that game, but they decided not to, play him in the game. So, we'll see if there's any kind of, working in and out with Geno Vandermark going into next week. Tim Keenan also week to week. Now, they did also say about Tim Keenan and that ankle injury on the TV broadcast that they want him to be back by that Wisconsin game. So one more week coming up this week and then Wisconsin after that. We'll see if he's able to get back by then. And then Jam Miller, obviously with that collarbone injury, he is still going to be week to week. All right, let's get into some of that stuff that we saw yesterday during that press conference, because I know it annoyed the hell out of me listening to this coaching staff just talk about all the things that happened on Saturday, and I know it annoyed the hell out of a lot of you guys as well. Look, Kane Womack was, one of the only ones that I thought actually seemed a little bit pissed off during that press conference, not really looking anybody in the eye, just kind of short answering everybody. But still, there weren't a lot of things that he said that really made me feel like, they were really going to get things figured out. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't really know. But, there were media members trying to ask him kind of about the lack of effort from certain players, and it just really didn't go into anything like that. Kane Womack did say that guys were playing hesitant in that game, but I think the proper word should really be lazy. I know Bray Hubbard was really getting the brunt of it on social media. That one play, that touchdown run up the left sideline, he was just freaking jogging. What are we doing? We're calling this a swarm defense, but it's swarm defense my ass. It's more like driving Miss Daisy around the park in our Model T defense. Just slow, oh, that's, that guy's job, oh, he's not doing his job, whatever. I'm just, the plays to the other side of the field, I'm going to stay over here and just, if he comes back, it just made no sense whatsoever. All the hype that was, from this coaching staff about this team flying around, giving so much effort. I didn't see a ton of effort on the defensive side of the ball out there on Saturday. I've never seen such a lack of effort from an Alabama defense before. Let's talk about Ryan Grubb, too. I thought there were just a ton of excuses from Ryan Grubb talking about getting away from the run game early on. Ryan Grubb kind of just, I don't even know how to put it, to be honest with you guys. Just the fact that they got away from the run game so early, after it was so good early on. That first drive, you had 55 yards on the ground. The rest of the game, you only had 16 yards on the ground. Saying the excuse that was being thrown out there was, we got behind early in the game, so you got to start throwing it more. I just refuse to buy that. We stopped running the ball because that is what this offense is. I told you guys when Ryan Grubb was hired that, I wouldn't get, super, super excited about it quite yet. Want to see how these things, kind of, happen in game action because, he just loves to throw the ball a lot. He threw the ball like 65, 70% of the time, something like that when he was at the Seahawks last year, and everybody was kind of calling me crazy, saying that didn't really matter. This is college football. Well, you saw it on Saturday, and he even said that he wanted to see the running backs get 25 carries a game. Can we just feed them a little bit more? I don't know if you guys saw what Justice Haynes did the other day, but it was incredible. Justice Haynes went off for Michigan the other day because they actually gave him the football. I want to see these running backs get 30 to 40 carries a game. The offensive line actually looked pretty decent in the first couple possessions of the football game the other day. You wonder why these guys are playing on their heels so much. Well, maybe it's because you're asking the offensive line to drop back into, pass protection 40-plus times a game. Ryan Grubb just loves to throw the ball. That's what this offense is. I was called crazy when I said I wasn't super excited about Ryan Grubb when he was initially hired. As of this point right now, I don't really know if Nick Sheridan was the issue. So, we'll see what happens in the future. But, I thought Kevin Riley looked really good when he got the ball. I thought Richard Young looked okay. But, man, Kevin Riley went out there, and he actually gave you a little bit of a burst when he was put into the game. 6.2 yards per carry out there for Kevin Riley. I want to see more of him, especially if we're not going to have Jam Miller for the next couple of weeks. All right, so what running back impressed you the most on Saturday? Let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. In my opinion, it's Kevin Riley. I thought he looked the best at that running back spot. But I want to hear from you guys. Type KR for Kevin Riley, RY for Richard Young, or DH for Daniel Hill. I didn't even put Dre Washington on here because he had 2 carries for 1 yard in that game. So, not necessarily the biggest fault of his own. Only got 2 attempts in the game. I want to see this running back core get the ball more. Make it happen. Let me know who impressed you the most at that running back spot down at the pinned comment of today's show. All right, there was also, let's get to Kalen DeBoer here as well. There was also just extreme awkwardness during that press conference yesterday when talking about preparation last week. He was kind of asked about, do you guys self-scout going back to last week's practice? Did you guys actually do a good enough job as a coaching staff to prepare these guys for that Florida State game? And at first, he kind of acts like he never said that they had a good week of practice. But then he kind of walked it back and was like, oh, yeah, we did have a good week of practice. I hate doing this, but I'm going to. I hate it when people, try to compare Kalen DeBoer to Nick Saban. But I really wished that Kalen DeBoer would use these press conferences, use these media availabilities to talk to the players, to send a message like Nick Saban used to do. Nick Saban used to come in and every single day, basically, and talk to the media and basically, kind of talk to them, give the media the exact same speech that he was giving the players. Now, it just kind of seems like, this coaching staff is the one manufacturing the rat poison out there. Nick Saban never used to give any praise to the media or about players when they were asked or when he was asked about a specific player. They would kind of, come in and ask about a specific player, and Nick Saban's kind of approach to that would always be, this player's doing some decent stuff, but he needs to do this to get better. I don't really see that with this coaching staff. They, have kind of convinced themselves, I think, that they are just like at the top tier, just like super good, when they haven't really done anything yet. And maybe shame on me, shame on all of us for kind of buying into that hype. But I think it's definitely, on this coaching staff, why these players kind of think that they are better than what they actually are to this point right now. All right, we'll continue here in just a second, but today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. I personally use Prize Picks for so many different types of sporting events, whether it's professional football, baseball, basketball, college sports, MMA, boxing, and so much more. Prize Picks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on Prize Picks. This is one of the NFL max discounts that you'll see on Prize Picks. Dak Prescott, massive deal here. Only needs a half passing yard here in the first week of the season. So make sure, if you guys see that, make sure you add it into all of your Prize Picks lineups this week. Prize Picks is just super simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. Prize Picks also invented the flex play, which means you can cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link's down in the description of today's show. It's also going to be down at the pinned comment of today's show as well. It's Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, I also see a lot of people, probably rightfully so, a lot of people are pissed off right now, and I totally understand that. Talking about this, fire Kalen DeBoer narrative at this point. Whether we like it or not, Alabama is going to have Kalen DeBoer through at least the 2028 season. They're not going to go out and pay this absolutely ridiculous buyout that they have right now for Kalen DeBoer. You can see right here just kind of the breakdown of this Kalen DeBoer buyout. If he were to get fired, they would have to pay 90% of what is left on his contract. So if Alabama went out there and they ended up firing Kalen DeBoer in the 2025 season, they would have to pay $69.3 million. That's kind of a roundup from that $70 million buyout that everybody keeps throwing out there. If they fire him after the 2026 season or during the 2026 season, it's a $60 million buyout. If they fire him in the 2027 season, it's a $50 million buyout. If they fire him in 2028, it's still about a $41 million buyout. So whether or not anybody wants to fire Kalen DeBoer right now, it's not going to happen. You can be mad about the coordinators. Maybe you can switch out, push the, fire Kane Womack narrative if you guys want to. But Kalen DeBoer is not getting fired for at least a couple of seasons here for Alabama. You also have to take into consideration, you got to pay the buyout, and then you also have to pay a new coaching staff or a new head coach, and it's going to be an entire coaching staff if you were to fire the head coach. He's going to want his new guy. So I understand everybody's pissed off. A lot of people keep going back and saying, hire Nick Saban. That's not going to happen either. So we got to ride with Kalen DeBoer right now. You can be mad. I'm mad. I'm not going to, fault anybody for, throwing the fire Kalen DeBoer stuff out there, but you just got to be honest with yourself. It is not going to happen anytime soon. So we got to ride with it, and hopefully they can right the ship. So how many seasons will Kalen DeBoer be at Alabama? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section of today's show. I think it's through at least the 2028 season, kind of no matter what happens at this point. So let me know what you guys think down at the comments section of today's video. I also put this at the end of today's show because I don't know if this is true or not, but it really would not surprise me one damn bit if it was true. Bear Bryant's Burner, this is a Alabama Twitter account out there. Throw some troll stuff out there. This could be troll stuff, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if it was true. Putting this out there yesterday, so one of Alabama's biggest boosters sent this to him. Just take it how you will here. Said he spent time around the team hotel for the past 25 years, and I'll tell you that this DeBoer tenure is much closer to the Shula DeBose era than the Nick Saban era. Players just walking around 1:30 a.m., getting DoorDash deliveries, fast food the night before the game. I've seen players with random friends coming in and out of the hotel until 2 a.m. They couldn't even get organized to leave the team hotel on time for the game. It's just kind of, if this is true, I'm just a big if it is true, it would not surprise me at all, because that's kind of the same thing that we see on the field. Guys can't get organized, guys are, just lazy is what it seems like. And I don't know what's, up with this fourth quarter program that supposedly was harder than ever, but it doesn't really seem like, that put that discipline that I thought, what a lot of people thought, what a lot of people bought into, was going to really help this Alabama team this year. And to pair it with this as well, John Talty of CBS Sports also, wrote this article the other day. saying, program insiders told CBS Sports this offseason that Kalen DeBoer truly believes in his ability to out-scheme and outthink opponents and prioritize it over the mental toughness that Nick Saban used to drill into his teams. To me, that just doesn't make any sense. ¿Por qué no los dos? Why not both? You guys remember the taco commercial, right? The hard shell and the soft shell. You can have both. You can do both. Nick Saban used to do both. He used to out-scheme everybody, and he used to drive that mental toughness through these players' heads. This isn't Washington, where you can just make the national championship and act pretty much like you won the damn thing. I remember when Alabama lost to Georgia a couple of years ago in the national championship. I was still in school, still going to Alabama, and I was walking outside. I was leaving the bars, and there were multiple fights going on at once. You look over there, there's a fight. You look over there, there's a fight. Just right there on the strip. It was absolute madness. People actually give a shit in Alabama about college football. This isn't Washington where it's like, okay, yeah, it's good if you're good. It's like, whatever. There's something else to do on Saturdays if we're not good. I brought up the fourth quarter program a second ago as well. They were all off season long talking about it was harder than ever this season. Was that the last time that they did anything that took some mental toughness to get through? Because it kind of seems like it. This team from top to bottom looked soft as hell on Saturday. And I went out of my way last week to talk about the leadership on this team. I really thought this team was full of leaders. Apparently, that's not the case. I didn't see any leadership on Saturday. Maybe they just didn't show it on TV, but I didn't see it. When the bullets start flying, we just hunkered down and kind of pouted about it. I want to see some of that, Psycho Tony behavior on the sidelines when guys are showing that lack of effort, lack of discipline out there on the field. Nobody's being held accountable. Kind of the same thing as last season. It's, they just go over there to the sidelines and they just sulk about it. Nobody talks to each other over there. Newsflash, guys, nobody feels sorry for you. I need somebody to actually show that they actually give a shit on this team for once. Or this team is absolutely cooked. And, we're going to be cooked for the next 3 to 4 seasons at minimum because Alabama is no way, shape, or form going to pay a $70 million buyout for Kalen DeBoer to be fired this season. I don't even think they would pay a $40 million buyout at this point. So those team captains, it starts with you. Ty, just kind of saw you over there on the sidelines looking at the iPad. Get in somebody's face. I mean, I want to see some pushing and shoving. I want to see that you guys actually care because we as Alabama fans actually give a damn about this team. So who do you want to see step up as a leader? Let me know what you guys think down at the comment section of today's video. I think it starts, first and foremost with that leadership group. Didn't really see anybody doing that on Saturday. So let me know what you guys think. Who would you like to see step up as a leader for the Alabama Crimson Tide this season? Make sure you guys are subscribed as well right here to the channel. As you can see, I'm as pissed off as any of you guys. I'm as passionate as any of you guys as well. We're 2 days now after the game, and I am still absolutely livid about that performance against Florida State on Saturday. So get down there and hit that sub button for me, and we're going to be live for every single game, good or bad, here on the channel. So join the community right here at the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports.